Imagine you're sitting alone, your phone screen casting a soft blue glow in a dark room. It's late, too late to be up, but something drew you here. Not curiosity, not boredom, something deeper, heavier. Like the universe tapped you on the shoulder and handed you a key to a locked room nobody talks about. And now you're in. You've crossed that invisible threshold. The footage you're about to see wasn't leaked, it wasn't stolen. It simply appeared. No metadata, no timestamp. Just a single word embedded in the file name. She. The video begins with shaky cell phone footage. A cracked sidewalk. Flashing red and blue lights. Sirens moaning in the distance like wounded wolves. Somewhere off-screen, a woman is breathing, ragged, trembling, almost primal. The camera pans up just as a figure slams against the hood of a black SUV. She's black, maybe late 40s. Braids slicked back into a tight bun. There's blood on her temple. Her wrists are zip-tied behind her. One of the officers, white, mid-30s, buzz cut, leans down and hisses something too low for the mic to catch. But her eyes don't blink. They burn. Then, just before the footage cuts out, she says something that chills the air. Call Langley. The screen goes black. No static. No logo. Just black. What follows is not a story. It's a reckoning. A reassembly of splinters, torn from headlines that never made print. Voices swallowed before they could echo. And it all begins with a question. No one dares to ask out loud. What happens when the people trained to protect power mistake it for threat? Her name was General Dana Caldwell. Decorated, feared, loved quietly by those who served under her because she saw through them. Past the uniforms, past the medals, right down into the marrow. She wasn't just a woman in charge. She was the storm that made men rebuild their spines. No one knew she was in town that day. Not even her driver. She'd gotten out a block early, walked the last stretch alone. Said she needed to feel the city's bones under her boots. Maybe she knew something was coming. Maybe she wanted to meet it standing tall. Maybe that's when the 911 call came in. Suspicious person. Possible break-in. Black woman. Military. Gear talking into her sleeve like she's CIA. The patrol car responded in 3 minutes. No badge check, no warning, guns drawn, knees in her back. And one whispered threat caught by a nearby baby monitor of all things. Bet the Pentagon ain't picking up now, bitch. But they did. Not the front desk, not the press liaison. The Pentagon Operations Center, direct line, answered in under 5 rings. And the voice on the other end? Caldwell? That one word changed everything. The officers froze mid-motion, like puppets caught in the wrong act. The sergeant's face drained of color. One reached for his radio, another for his taser, as if unsure which god he'd just pissed off. But that wasn't the strange part. The strange part happened 4 blocks away. At the exact moment General Caldwell uttered the name Langley, a man stepped into a diner on 4th and Pennsylvania. Early 60s, unshaven, rumpled trench coat. Looked like any other invisible old vet in D.C. He walked up to a young couple eating pancakes and whispered something in the child's ear. The baby, maybe 9 months old, blinked, smiled, and said a name. Dana. That was her first word. She had never spoken before. The couple didn't have friends named Dana, no relatives, no toys with the name printed on them. But she kept saying it, over and over, as if trying to conjure someone. As if her tongue had touched something ancient. They looked around. The old man was gone. Vanished. No doorbell. No receipt. No reflection on the diner's curved mirror wall. Just gone. Back on the scene, Caldwell was upright now. Hands still bound. Face still bleeding, but her spine was unbroken. She looked each cop in the eye and said nothing. Just stared. Until one of them, visibly shaking, dropped his weapon and ran. Later, dashcam footage would show something else, something nobody noticed. At the time, as the police cruiser pulled up to the scene, a low, guttural frequency pulses through the audio. A sound only children and animals seem to hear. A dog 3 blocks away starts howling. A bird slams into a window. A baby monitor, again, crackles. With static and a voice warped underwater says, "Don't touch her." The Pentagon issued no statement, no press conference, no disciplinary action, but two of the officers involved turned in their resignations within 48 hours. One left a note. Just 3 words. She knew everything. What did she know? Why had... She walked alone that morning, unarmed, into a trap she must have seen coming. And why, days later, did every camera on that block mysteriously glitch out for precisely 13 minutes and 6 seconds? The exact window from when she was cuffed to when her call went through? The news tried to spin it. Misunderstanding. Breakdown. Protocol. Unfortunate mistake. But they never showed the part where she turned her head, blood matting her temple, and whispered into the body cam, "This isn't the first time." What did that mean? Not the first time she'd been profiled, not the first time she'd been betrayed, or something darker, something cyclical. Repeating, predestined. Because later, in a digital archive scrubbed from public access, a black and white photo was found. 67. Selma, Alabama. A young girl, maybe 9 years old, standing on the courthouse steps, jaw clenched, eyes defiant. In the background, a group of National Guardsmen. One looks straight into the lens. He's unmistakable. Same. Buzz cut. Same crooked nose. The same cop who handcuffed her in 2025. He hasn't aged a day, and just as you start to process that, just as your brain begins to piece together the impossible, your phone buzzes. New notification. No sender. No subject. Just an attachment. A file. Langley response. 6A94X. You open it and hear her voice, but it's not coming from your phone. It's behind you, calling your name. It was your name, clear, spoken without breath, as if the air itself had shaped it. Not shouted, not whispered, just there, impossibly present behind you. But when you turned, nothing moved. The room was exactly as it was. No open doors, no shadows retreating down the hallway. Just silence. Not even the hum of your fridge. Like the entire apartment had stopped breathing. You tell yourself it was a glitch, that you're overtired, that audio can echo in ways that feel alive when you're alone too long. But then you rewind the clip. Langley response. 6A94X. Only this time the file won't play. It's gone, corrupted, deleted. You check your recent files, nothing. You try to re-download, no trace. You check your phone settings. Your storage usage has dropped by exactly 13 megabytes. The weight of something removed. You don't remember installing the file in the first place. Outside, a car alarm hiccups once and stops. The kind of sound you'd usually ignore, but tonight it spikes through you like a memory you didn't know was buried. You look out your window, half expecting someone to be there, watching. But no one is. Just the dull orange glow of the street lamp, flickering like a heartbeat. On, off, then on again. Your phone buzzes unknown number, no caller ID, no sound. Just a 20-second voicemail. The voice is male, scratchy, half swallowed by static. You're seeing echoes. They always leave. Echoes. Don't trust what repeats, you replay it. The message is now just silence. And then you realize something more disturbing. The timestamp on the voicemail reads, March 4th, 2021. 4 years ago. On a phone you bought 6 months ago. A year before the general incident. Before you even knew her name, unless you did, but how could you? You check your photos, a few are missing. Not the big ones. The selfies, the dinner nights, the beach trip with Bree in 22. But the in-between ones. Screenshots. News headlines. Notes you think you made. All gone. Like someone edited the margins of your mind while leaving the body. Tact. Then you remember the voice that called your name. Not because it was haunting, but because it was familiar. You've heard it before. On a voicemail. Years ago. Left by someone you swore didn't exist. Your old neighbor, Marcus. The ex-Navy guy who used to talk to his plants and scribble codes on napkins. He vanished one winter. Left all his stuff behind. The cops said it was a psychotic break, but you remember what he told you once. Eyes darting like they were tracking shadows only he could see. You think you remember your life. But they can. Edit memory like Google Docs now, clean, fast, quiet. You won't even know what's missing. Until it's too late. Back then you laughed. Now you're not so sure, because tonight you don't remember what you had for lunch, or who texted you last, or what you were doing before this all started. You open your notes app. The last entry is a single line, dated 3 days ago. Remember her eyes. You don't recall typing it. You don't even remember opening the app that day. The knock comes next. 2 quick taps, a pause, then 3 more. That rhythm. You've heard it before. Years ago, outside your childhood bedroom door, when your mom would check to see if you were asleep. But your mom died in 2014. You open the door anyway. There's a woman standing there. Red hair, shoulder length. Torn coat. Rain dripping from her sleeves, though it hasn't rained in your city in 5 days. Her eyes are tired, glassy, like someone who hasn't slept since the truth cracked open. You saw her, she says. Didn't you? You nod without meaning to. Your throat feels raw, like you've been screaming in a dream you can't remember, waking from. She's not dead, the woman says, but she's not here either. You ask who she is, but she doesn't answer. Instead, she reaches into her pocket and pulls out a flash drive. It's cracked down the middle like it's been bitten. The plastic case is labeled with a piece of torn masking tape. Truth der Raisin final. Recovered. She holds it out to you but doesn't let go. There's something on here, she says. But once you watch it, they'll know. They always know. Just like Langley knew the second she said the word. Just like I knew when I woke up last year with bruises in places I didn't know I had bones. You take the drive. You blink, she's gone. The hallway's empty. No echo of footsteps, no door slam. Just a faint static in your ears, like an old TV left on Channel 3 at 3 a.m. You plug the drive into your laptop. The screen goes black, then gray, then grainy, a flicker of her, General Caldwell, walking down a hallway flanked by men in suits with blank faces. One of them turns toward the camera just before the footage cuts out. It's you, or someone wearing your face. Your mouth is moving, but no sound comes out, and then a flash of text appears, white on black. This is not your first time watching. And your hand begins to shake, not from fear, from recognition. There was a moment, a fleeting, fragile heartbeat in the chaos, when you dared to believe the fog was lifting. The pieces you'd scrambled for, the fragments snatched from the edge of your fading memories suddenly fit together like the final frame of a puzzle you never thought you'd solve. You'd found it, or at least thought you had. A hidden archive buried beneath layers of forgotten data, masked by endless firewalls and untraceable IP shadows. There, in a folder simply titled Operation Echo. You discovered what felt like the key. You played the file. Static shattered the silence, but beneath it was her voice, General Caldwell's, clearer than ever, recounting a covert investigation, not of foreign threats or espionage, but of something domestic and chillingly intimate. The file named names, dates, and locations. It spoke of repeated cover-ups, incidents that were never reported, people erased without a trace, and officers trained not just to protect, but to silence. It felt like the hidden truth, the thread that, if pulled, would unravel the entire fabric of deception. And for a brief moment you believed you could expose it all. But then a detail slipped through your fingers like smoke and collapsed the whole fragile reality. A date, March 4th, 2019, 4 years before the cuffing. And there it was, a hauntingly familiar name cropping up repeatedly throughout the documents, tied to an unsolved case nearly identical to the one unfolding now. A black woman, a leader in uniform, stopped, questioned, and vanished from public records after a confrontation with law enforcement. The officers involved? The same faces, the same voices, the same buzz cuts, the same chilling silence. Your breath, caught because you remembered something. Or maybe you didn't. Maybe the memory had always been buried under layers of pain and denial. You opened an old journal, the one you hadn't touched in years. The pages were yellowed, the ink faded, but the words were there, your own handwriting raw and shaky. She disappeared after the night I heard the knock I thought I imagined, the knocking that came just before the house went dark. You blink, trying to hold on to the trembling memory. A knock at your childhood door, a whisper that didn't belong to anyone living, and then the blackout. Your parents told you it was a power surge, a faulty fuse. But you knew better. You remember the fear that settled into your bones. That cold certainty that someone, or something, was watching you, waiting for you to forget so it could move unseen. Now you realize the same presence is here again. Watching. Waiting. Your phone vibrates, jarring you out of the spiraling recollection. A message from an unknown number. Just 2 words. Not done. A slow, creeping dread settles in your gut. The sense that no matter how close you come to the truth, it always shifts. Like sand slipping beneath your feet. Like the past isn't past at all, but a looping shadow, stretching and twisting into your present. You're not crazy. They lied to you. The memories you trust, the images you cling to, the voices you remember, they are all fragments of a deeper, more dangerous force. One that isn't content to stay hidden in the dark, but instead seeps into your mind, unravels your sense of self, and blurs the line between what was real and what was never meant to be. You look back at the screen, at the files you've watched, at the whispers you've heard, and realize everything you thought was a beginning is actually an ending. A loop that's been playing over and over, waiting for you to notice the wrong note, the crack in the mirror, the detail that doesn't belong. Because in that loop, there is no before. There is only now, forever fractured and impossible. To escape, you hit rewind and watch it all again. There's a quiet, almost imperceptible shift in the air, the kind you don't notice until you're already pulled into its gravity, unable to look away. You're not alone, far from it. Others have been here before you, threading their way through the same fractured timeline, caught in the same relentless loop. They watch, hidden in the cracks of static and broken signal, their faces blurry, their voices distorted, but their presence unmistakable. Sometimes, in the dead hours when your mind falters and the line between wakefulness and sleep blurs, you see their shadows flickering just beyond your vision, hear a soft murmur of names that echo like an unfinished prayer. The messages begin to arrive without warning. At first, a pattern emerges in the chaos, a series of numbers scrawled in the margins of emails with no sender, a symbol etched into the corner of a cracked screen, a phrase whispered in the static between channels. You were right all along. It feels like a code, a secret handshake from those who've been pulled beneath the surface before you. And if you listen close enough, if you let your senses strain just beyond the noise, you'll catch glimpses of found footage from 20 years ago, raw and grainy, untouched by the spin of official archives. Footage the government never released, showing the first fractures in this endless story, a first warning ignored. Dreams seep in too, not the comforting kind that fade at dawn, but those that linger like a second skin. You find yourself walking through corridors that don't exist, rooms where time folds back on itself, faces that shift between strangers and kin, eyes that know too much but say nothing. And in those dreams, you are never just you. You are part of something larger, connected by invisible threads to others who wake with the same knot of dread in their chests, the same questions burning behind their eyes. You start to wonder if memory itself is a battleground, whether what you call you is a fragile construction, cobbled together from fragments planted by a force that manipulates not just what you see, but what you are. And then there is the observer, a voice that does not belong to the others, a presence that watches not with fear, but with an unsettling clarity. This observer slips through the story like a ghost in daylight, speaking truths that unsettle even the most grounded parts of your mind. They tell you that identity is a layered thing, a shifting mask worn to hide something far older and darker. They suggest that control is not simply about power or surveillance, but about the very fabric of reality bending under unseen hands. You catch their reflections in cracked screens, their words hidden in code buried deep within files marked classified or mundos, never to be seen. They are both guide and warning, never fully revealing their face or motives, leaving you to wonder if they are friend, foe, or something else entirely. Every step you take deeper into this labyrinth only tightens the coil around your mind. Questions pile upon questions, each answer peeling back a layer of certainty until all that remains is the raw pulse of doubt. What is real? Who decides what you remember? Are you the one pulling the strings, or are you being pulled? As the shadows lengthen and the watchers close in, the line between nightmare and waking life fades, leaving you suspended in a suspended truth that demands one final reckoning. And as you stare back into the screen, you realize the story isn't over. It's just beginning. There comes a moment, inevitable and merciless, when the puzzle shifts from the cold question of what happened to the unbearably raw question of why. The quiet dread you've carried, the fragments of fractured memories, the shadowed watchers, all start to dissolve into a single haunting truth. It isn't just about injustice, corruption, or hidden forces manipulating the story from the shadows. It's about something far more personal, something woven into the very fabric of being human, the desperate, aching need to be seen, to be remembered, to hold on to a self in a world determined to erase it. As you stand at this precipice, the weight of that truth crashes over you with the force of 1,000 silent screams. The general, her handcuffed strength, her unyielding dignity crushed beneath ignorance and hatred, was never just a victim of external cruelty. She was, in many ways, a mirror reflecting all the unseen battles you fought inside. The erased memories, the whispered names, the loops of time replaying over and over like a song stuck on repeat. They are fragments of your own soul screaming for recognition, for meaning. This isn't merely a conspiracy, it's a reckoning. With the parts of yourself you've buried, the stories society tried to silence, the truths you feared to face. And now, in this moment, you realize the terrifying choice laid bare before you. To uncover the full truth is to risk everything, your sense of safety, your sanity, the fragile identity you cling to in the dark. But to turn away, to let the shadows keep their secrets, is to live forever half lost, haunted by whispers you can never quite chase down. The choice is yours, to destroy or to save, to break free or remain captive in this endless labyrinth of doubt. You speak aloud a confession, your voice trembling with a vulnerability that surprises even yourself. I don't know if I'm ready to be free. Maybe I'm afraid the truth will leave me empty, or worse, that it will fill me with something I can't handle. The silence that follows is not empty. It's full of the weight of unspoken fears and the fragile hope that somewhere in this darkness, light waits. This is not the end. It's the moment before awakening, the line where dream blurs into reality, where you finally see the edges of the illusion you've been trapped inside. The watchers grow quiet, the echoes still, and for the first time the world holds its breath with you. You are no longer just a witness, you are part of the story. The question is no longer what you will find, but what you will do with what you see. And as the screen fades to black, one thought lingers, a whisper of something eternal and unknowable. We are the stories we refuse to forget, and the silence we dare not break. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for stories you were never meant to hear. Until next time, remember, some truths don't want to be found.